Hi, I'm Leah and welcome to the Not Only Carrots cooking show. Today I'll be preparing for you the split pea and potato curry from page 76 of my brand new cookbook, No, We Don't Only Eat Carrots, Plant-Based Food for Humans. To begin with, bring a pot of water to boil, roughly 1 litre. You can use boiled water out of the kettle to save time and add to that your 1 cup of split peas. You can leave that uncovered on the stove, bring it back to the boil, and once you reach the boil again, bring the temperature down to roughly a low, medium-low temperature so that it's simmering constantly, and roughly 30 to 35 minutes later, your split peas will be nice and soft, and that's what you want for the recipe. Drain those peas out, and then we can get on with the rest of it. I actually prepared some earlier. And as you can see, the peas are lovely and soft. I can squish them in my fingers and that way it's going to combine really nicely with our curry today. So let's start putting together all the yummy stuff. To begin with, you'll need 2 large onions diced, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic and also minced ginger, and a little bit of water to saute those in. The electric fry pan you'll put on roughly 6 and the stove going to be on a medium-high heat. And wait for that to heat up a little bit. The reason I'm sauteing with water today is the coconut oil, which I will be adding later, is actually really high in fat naturally, so we don't actually have to add any more oil to the recipe today. Add in your onion and your garlic and ginger, and we'll be sauteing that until the onion is lovely and clear, it's transparent. And that will soften our onion up enough. We don't want to brown it. We're not actually aiming for a crispy onion look. Simply softening it up. And then we will add in the remaining recipe ingredients. This will take a few minutes naturally. You have 2 large onions in there. The most important thing is that you're creating a base of flavour for your recipe. Some people, I know a lot of kids find onion is not the most exciting or the most tasty part of their diet. But I really recommend that even if you have picky kids, feed them this recipe. I actually have never had any child not like this recipe, even with all of this onion in it. Okay, that's looking good. You can see that onion is clear, it's transparent now, which means it's lovely and soft. Now we get to burst our spices. We have 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 2 teaspoons of turmeric. We'll add those in. If you don't like spicy food, you don't have to put the cayenne in. I just like it. It adds a little kick to it. Only slight, but I enjoy it. Plus, there's so many medicinal benefits of cayenne pepper. So we add that in, and once they've actually burst, you will smell, you will smell that they are actually much more fragrant, and that's your cue to quickly add the rest of your ingredients. If you leave it too long, it will burn. So we're going to add our coconut cream next. A full tin, 400 mils of that. I will add in the American conversions for our American viewers so you don't miss out. And we're going to add in 2 large diced tomatoes to the mix, along with our cooked split peas. Plop them in. And 1/2 cup of fresh peas if you've got them, if you've got a garden, but mine are frozen today, but frozen work just as well. And finally, oh no, not finally, second finally, 300 grams of veggie sausages. Yes, you can use my vegan sausages out of the cookbook. They work very nicely in this recipe. These ones are just the ones from the cold section at Woolworths and Coles. I'm sure you'd find them in the States. Just the cold section ones. They tend to have a bit of gluten in them, which helps to hold them together once they warm up. I don't recommend using frozen sausages unless they do have a bit of gluten content because they can fall apart. It will still taste nice, but it won't have that pretty sausage piece look. Very fancy terminology there. Finally now, we will add in our potatoes. We have 4 medium potatoes peeled. You don't have to peel them, but I prefer to peel them. And what I've been doing is just soaking mine in water because I did prepare them earlier. Add your potatoes into your curry. Now, I always know every time I cook this curry, I take a look and I think there's too much potato. Every time, literally, every time I cook, I think there's too much potato. There is not. Trust me. I have cooked this so many times. You stir it in, and because you have lovely, moist tomato in there. It releases quite a lot of water, and you've also obviously got your coconut cream, and it cooks the potato through so beautifully, and there's never too much potato. It's actually wonderful. And one of the great things about this particular recipe is you don't have to cook rice or noodles or pasta for it to go on, or even have it with bread. It's pretty much a complete meal because you've got the potato as the base. The split peas and the veggie sausages are really high in iron and in protein, 20% protein, they're just wonderful. And the veggie sausages add a lovely texture in there and flavour too. Finally, salt. I choose to add salt to my recipes, 1.5 teaspoons for this one. Some people choose to not add much salt to what they cook. I know that there are various health experts out there who recommend not too much salt, and I do agree. But as this meal will feed 4 to 6 people, I figure 1.5 teaspoons of salt is really not so bad. We find that it really brings out those flavours of different ingredients. Okay, so if you were to be doing this on the stove, which you very, very much can do, say this were your pot, what you would do is put it on the stove, bring it to the boil like I have now, but then I'm going to bring this temperature down to a low to medium low heat. I want to keep it covered, and I will have it on open for my lid on my electric fry pan, but on the stove, leave it slightly uncovered. If it's covered, it becomes a little too sloppy, and if it's uncovered, it becomes dry. And I have tried both ways, and the slightly uncovered is the way that works. So that's what I recommend. And on the stove, once again, you just bring it down to that medium-low simmer. If it isn't simmering, it really doesn't cook and will take a little longer. What you want to do is keep that going now for roughly 45 minutes. If you want to check as you go along, give it a stir here and there. Keep an eye on that coconut cream because it can catch because it is very rich. And if it's boiling too much, just bring your temperature down just ever so slightly until you get that perfect point where it's not off, it is still simmering. After 45 minutes, once that potato is lovely and soft, it's ready to serve. You can serve as is in a bowl. Be very careful though, because it's high in coconut cream, it is like magma when you first take it off the stove. Everyone who ever tries it, if they're really hungry, takes one bite and says, I just burnt my mouth. It truly happens to a lot of people. My husband, who's videoing, is laughing because he does it pretty much every time. So take it easy, but I'm sure that you'll enjoy it just as much as we do. We would love to hear your comments. This is a Thermomix friendly recipe in my cookbook. I have over 40 recipes in the cookbook that are also able to be cooked with the Thermomix. If you would like me to make a Thermomix version of this recipe for the cooking show, please let me know in the comments, and I look very much forward to making another cooking show for you. Have a great week and happy cooking. Ha 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 ha!